Thank you very much. It is a great pleasure for me to be here. I have been here other times, this time especially invited for the summer school, and it is a great pleasure for me to be among our Theosophical family around the world, and especially this American classroom, this American Theosophical Society. The quest for unity, finding harmony in a fractured world. Well, this has been maybe one of the quests of my life. How can we help to build a better world for all of us? And especially, what are the challenges and opportunities for the Theosophical Society to help the world? For me, it is something quite clear that the TS is a project of the great hierarchy to help the world. But, well, we may think, is it? Well, if I would answer, I would stay here more 5 hours talking about how the TS is a project of the great hierarchy and so on, and I would come out of the subject of this presentation itself. So I take as an axiom, and after, if you want to talk about that, we can talk. But anyway, I take as an axiom that the TS is a project of the great hierarchy. Lately, I have been studying a lot the Mahatma Letters, and most of my quotes here today come from the Mahatma Letters, and always my thought is, well, if the TS is a project of the great hierarchy, what do they want from us? What are we doing here to help the project of such high beings want to help humanity to find truth, to find peace, to find harmony, to find unity? So this is, I will share with you my thoughts and my search in this subject. I'm no authority, but I take some quotes of the Mahatmas as guidelines to tell us what do they expect from us as a society in order that we may help the world in this search for unity, in this search for solving problems of a fractured world. And one of the quotes, I always give titles to the quotes that I find very important. So you'll see my titles, and one is Continent of Thought. And this is in letter 18 from the chronological order, and 9 from Baker publication before. I have given this talk in Spanish, and they have more intimacy with the publication of Baker, so that's why I put the number here in case, well, just to show that I'm not inventing anything. In Brazil, we don't have the Baker translation. We only have the chronological order, and that's the one that I'm more used to. So when I will say, and the reference is always like that, letter 18, Baker 9. Okay, so this quote, Continent of Thought, it says a lot of what do the Mahatmas want for the world, what are they doing, and somehow what they want from us. And it says like that. Also, I have the habit of putting some highlights. Maybe it's a little bit too carnival for you, but that's how I That's how I understand myself in the middle of these quotes. Yes, and it says like that. Well, I simplified some words to facilitate also my understanding. For many, many generations, the adepts are building a temple of imperishable rocks, a huge tower of infinite thought, to invite the elect of mankind to cooperate with them and to help in turn to enlighten superstitious men. And they keep on saying, and they, will continue with our regular work until the day when the foundations of a new continent of thought are so firmly established that no amount of opposition and ignorant malice, guided by the burden of the shadow, will be found to prevail. But until that day of final triumph, someone has to sacrifice themselves, and we only accept voluntary victims. Well, a lot to say about this quote. They are building a temple of infinite thought. What's the meaning of that? Oh, for me, it has a relationship with the mentality of our time. We are very much influenced by the mentality of our time. And the mentality of our time we need to add ideas to the mentality of our times to get things better for everyone. And maybe the big word is brotherhood, right? Because in Portuguese, the word fraternidade has no sex. So for us, brotherhood, sisterhood, siblings, well, just fraternidade, and we make no difference. And, well, when you have this brotherly, sisterly feeling, when you deal with every human being in this way, you will not damage the other person. You will not compete. You will not you will not steal. You will not hurt. You will not do a lot of the bad things that we have in our society today. So this idea that we are brothers and sisters, we are emanating, using Ravi's word, emanating from Atman, from the big soul, from God. We are all united. We are cells of the same body called humanity. So these ideas, they are building this infinite thought. But not only, they are building and they are inviting us to cooperate with them. We have to elect ourselves for this task. So we are invited to cooperate with them in order to help to enlighten superstitious men. But this work is not ready. The continent of thought is being built, is on the process. And, well, until that day when it's firmly established, somehow there is opposition. And opposition may hurt us. So until that day when the continent of thought is ready, well, the final day of triumph, someone has to sacrifice. We go against the flow. And we have the reaction of the flow, and we have to be prepared to accept the reaction of the flow. They only accept voluntary victims. Are we willing to face the prejudice of the world? The prejudice of ourselves, because we are part of humanity. We are just children in this big hierarchy of human evolution, of the evolution of our planet. Yes, we work against the flow. Letter number 1 has a concept that we have to be, well, I guess it's good that we are conscious of it. I call it inexorable shadow. And it says like that: the inexorable shadow which follows all human innovations moves on, and few are they who are ever conscious of its approach and dangers. What's the meaning of that? Every time something really goes forward, there is a tendency to come backwards. Status quo comes back. That's why they only accept voluntary victims, because there is always pushback. Maybe the best example of this is H.P. Blavatsky. Her life was really a hell of difficulties, because she really advanced things for our benefit and for the benefit of centuries ahead of us. And she had to somehow face this pushback of the inexorable shadow that moves on when there are real innovations. And what is their project? Well, they say to attract the attention of high minds. That's in letter number 12. And it says, the chiefs want the beginning of a brotherhood of humanity, a true universal brotherhood, an institution that is known throughout the world and attracts the attention of the highest minds. Why? Why do they want to attract the attention of the higher minds? Because there is this domino effect. The higher minds, they influence the mentality of the time. So to attract the attention of higher minds implies in adding ideas to the mentality of the moment that influence the whole humanity. But there is something. We are still children in this project. We may help the Mahatmas, we may elect ourselves to go against the flow and add these ideas I may call theosophical ideas or divine ideas or, well, whatever name we want. But yes, but have we found this unity? So there is a double process. In order to help the Mahatmas, we have also to help ourselves. We have to develop ourselves in the measure that is possible to us. No one is going to be perfect tomorrow morning, but just empty words are not enough. We must find unity. And how do we do that? Well, fortunately for us, there is this enormous literature that give us the guidelines that we may use, adding our intuition to understand how to find unity, how to find happiness, how to find love, how to find a better life for all of us. Yes, they talk about body and limbs fighting. And, well, it's an analogy, right? The body uncared for suffers eternally, whether the limbs are at war or at rest. Its sufferings and agony never ceases. Well, we may say humanity is one. And fragmented world is like arms fighting legs. So we are cells of this body called humanity. And it is essential that we find ways of not fighting the legs with the arms, to use the example of the Mahatmas. And that means we must find means of benefiting humanity. And I found this quote in a book of Sri Ram. And I said, oh, wonderful. But then I found it again in the Mahatma Letters. So it says like that. Emit the most divine emanations of Atma, which proceeds from that divine feeling of love of mortal man from his fellow man in its most high spiritual expression, and concentrating, find the means to benefit humanity through the practical applications of the Zephirot. Also, the first letter, letter number 1, talks about the transcendental divine life. And they say, we all have to get rid of our own ego, the illusory and apparent self, to recognize our true self in a transcendental divine life. Well, this ego should be with small letters, not the big ones. But anyway, I was very much influenced by Ravi Ravindra, someone that I met in the 90s in Brazil. And I know we have to take care of the personal self also, not only the highest, but if the lower self dominates, it creates a hell of a mess. So when we have to get rid of our own ego, it's in this sense that we should not be closed in our personal nature. There is a quote from the Gospel of Thomas, if I'm not mistaken, aphorism number 7, that says that when it is the higher, well, I'm using my own words, when it's the higher self that prevails, it brings harmony and happiness for all. But when is the low nature that prevails, it brings disharmony and unhappiness for all. So the question is only that the higher nature should prevail, not annihilated. To get rid is in this sense, not let it take the whole space. Yes, but well, so that's a task for us, especially as children in this spiritual journey. So everyone have to find out where is the stone inside his or her boots, right? So we know the difficulties we have to overcome. But there is more. But if we are not selfish, we must strive to make other people to see this truth and recognize the reality of this transcendental being, the Buddha, Christ, or God in every preacher. There is a double function. We have to overcome our own difficulties, But if we are not selfish, we must help other people also to see this reality. And I think this is very much what we are doing here. We are sharing information, we are sharing spiritual culture, let's say like that, in order to help each other to see that we must go beyond. And that quote is very, very famous. What characterizes the Theosophists is also in letter number 1, it's in Practical Theosophy written by Blavatsky, it's in several places, and it says very clear, what characterizes the true Theosophists is dedication to the selfless search for the best means to guide others along the right path, benefiting as many of our fellow men as possible. What is required from us? We are not Mahatmas. We still have some stones inside of our shoes. We are not Mahatmas. But we can be good students. And we can be teacher's assistant. We can help. If we are not selfish, we can help other people to see that the causes of unhappiness are in this very low material self. Because even the small ego can be not so low. But, well, if we talk about avarice, if we talk about greed and all this heavy jealousy and all these things, it makes us unhappy, right? So let's show that it can be different. Like somehow HPB did with us. Or not only HPB, well, all the sages of all times, they showed us it can be different. There are guidelines that you can transform your life for better. So that's our role, to be teacher's assistant, good students, so that we may help somehow to build a better world for all of us. There is a quote saying that they wanted to attract the highest minds. Why? Because we are influencers. If we can articulate well our ideas, we can influence people. And this means adding theosophical ideas to the mentality of our time. In this case, in letter number 1, the Mahatma Kutumi talks about the mission related to Synod. What was his mission? And he says, this imposes upon you the sacred duty of educating the public and preparing for future possibilities, gradually open its vision for the truth. Try it out and work with the material you have first, and then we will be the first to help you get new evidence. Well, that was for Synod. And for us, what is our mission? Somehow help to change the mentality of our time, right? Putting peace ideas, love, sympathy, well, all these things as a better way of living, more healthy, more happier than competition, greed, and so on. Another important thing that the Mahatma tells Synod is that the light must reach other minds. Well, let's go to the quote first. He says, there is still much to happen. So far, you, Synod, have only noticed the light of a new day. If you make an effort you can see with the help of Kutumi the midday sun when it reaches its meridian. But you have to work for it and work so that this light reaches other minds through yours. I think that's, do you put the hat on yourself? I put the hat on myself. In order to be helped, you must help. Then we go to Jacob's ladder. Someone helps you, you help another one. So it is this connection that, well, it's exemplified in Jacob's ladder that they are expecting from us. And it was said very clearly, work so that this light reaches other lights through yours. So he got to the sun rising with the help of Kutumi. But this help must reach other minds. And if he does it properly, they will be the first to help him to see more. So this image of Jacob's ladder is perfect. The more we help, the more we get help ourselves. Also, there is something I consider important, a quote that I called solitary pearl. And from my point of view, I think the Mahatmas want to convert us into jewelers. Let's see what the quote says. It says, the result would be that the most valuable clues would not reach the minds of truth seekers, because a solitary pearl, it soon disappears into a pile of fake diamonds when there is no jeweler to draw attention to its value. A jeweler has all the jewels of the world. A jeweler is very rich. Not necessarily. But he can identify what's a jewel, what's a diamond, and what is a piece of glass. So, a lot of knowledge was given to us for us to develop this discernment that we can recognize what is a pearl to a fake diamond. And this requires high minds. And I'm pretty sure that this is us. I have, so many years. I have 57 years membership of the Theosophical Society. Some experience. People come, if they don't have this philosophical aspect, they come and say, very good, and they go away. Yeah, well, that's my experience. I'm not saying that this have to be like that, but my experience is that people that like to philosophize life, like to understand, want answers, they stay in the Theosophical Society. So, that's why I'm convinced that they want to convert us into jewelers so that we can recognize what is fake and what is true. The TS, being a project of the great hierarchy, what do they expect from us? There is this quote called Alphabet of Truth, saying that if Sinet was able to teach even a single letter of the alphabet of truth, if your efforts teach the world even a single letter of the alphabet of truth, of that truth that once permeated the entire world, your reward will inevitably reach you. Yes, yes. Well, But of course, we cannot give what we don't have. So somehow, how can you give peace if you don't have peace yourself? How can you see, empty words, sometimes they do more harm than good. So we have to develop ourselves in a scale that is available to us. We will not become Mahatmas tomorrow morning. We will not overcome all our difficulties tomorrow morning. But, well, they expect us to be good students and to help other students to also see that there is a perspective. Self-knowledge is very important. And they say, anyone who wants to know how to benefit humanity and believes that he's able to identify the character of other people, he must first of all begin to learn to know himself, to realize the true value of his own character. And also important to control our involuntary powers. Learn our law first and educate your perceptions, dear brother. Control your involuntary powers. Develop your will in the right direction, and you will become a master rather than a learner. And he goes on, Master Kutumi, I would not reject what I have the right to teach. However, I had to study for 15 years before getting to the doctrines of the cycle. And at first, I had to learn simpler things. If Kutumi had to take 15 years to get to the cycles, well, imagine us. Maybe we have 15 lives, but anyway, it is ahead of us. And also, one important quote, I consider it's in letter 101, that talks that even mixed theosophy is better than nothing. Once our doctrines are taught, even if mixed with foreign material, great progress will have been made. Because fragmented people will not find the truth. And the quote says, we are now in the midst of a people in conflict, an ignorant and stubborn people who seek to know the truth, but they do not find it because each one seeks it for personal benefits and gratification without thinking about others. We get back to Jacob's letter, right? As much as we help others, we are helped. And if we don't have this attitude, if we think only in our own development, even our own spiritual development, we will not find the truth. As I said, it will not happen tomorrow morning. Yes, because personal and social changes are slow. We need perseverance and patience. And the quote says like that. May the prospect of a fuller introduction into our mysteries under more favorable circumstances, the materialization which depends entirely upon you, may give you patience to wait, perseverance to continue the effort, and full preparation to receive the blessed fulfillments of all your desires. So, in a way, we have to prepare the intellect. We have to change our values. We have to drop out ideas that are against brotherhood of humanity. And Kutumi says, the only thing you can do is prepare the intellect. The impetus for the culture of the soul must be given by the individual. And he goes on saying, thrice happy are those who break the vicious cycle of modern influence and rise above the mists. And they keep on saying, we have one word for all aspirants, try. So, the vicious circle of modern influence, that's the mentality of our time that influence us all. And great people have always lived ahead of their time. I was very surprised when I read something about Copernicus. Well, Ravi can say better than I do, but anyway, it made some discoveries that would be followed up by Leonardo da Vinci and others. And when I read, I said, that's so obvious. But well, he wrote it in 1300, right? So it was not so obvious. He was a lot ahead of his time. And somehow it's very clear that we have to break the vicious circle of modern influence. We are against the flow. The flow pushes us towards to consumerism and to all these things that we see in our society. We must be prepared to go against the flow. And one also important quote, they say that they broke the veil of Isis. Not Isis. Isis still have a lot of veil to break. Not me, but Isis unveiled, yes. It was just enough for us. The whole truth is not pictured in the books. They are guidelines. And the quote says like that. Because, well, if we stick dogmatically to what is written, thinking that is it, and then we'll create new prejudices. The capacities of lucidity is available for all of us. But we must not be stuck into new prejudices. And the quote says, you want to acquire skills, get to work and try to develop. The latter is not a gift, but a universal possibility common to us. And in this sense, there is a quote that I called concrete and abstract that shows how prejudices are formed. And it says like that. There is always a danger, I think, of seeing our ideas replaced by concrete and false images in the minds of our readers. If you can convey to them only the relative truth, not the absolute, you have done the public a great service. So, what do they want from us? They want us to be good students, to trying to learn as best as possible how to remove the stones inside our shoes. Because I think mainly is more taking out than putting new, because there are habits that are on the way on this path. And I finished my presentation with a quote that I called Diamond Pen. It was written to Francesca Arundel. It is published in Gina Rajadasa's first series, letter number 20. And Francesca Arundel was the treasurer of the London Lodge. And she was together with Olcott, with Blavatsky, with Sinnett, with Anna Kingsford, with, well, Stanton Moses, Massey, all this. And she was just the treasurer. And maybe she thought, well, what can I do here? Let me take notes of the humble numbers and reduce myself to my insignificance. But that's not what the Mahatmas tell her. In letter number 4, this is very clear, also in Gina Rajadasa's first series, and letter number 20, they urge her to take the diamond pen. And they say like that: daughter of your race and of your time, take up the diamond pen and write on the pages of your life a story of noble deeds, of days well lived, or years of selfless effort. In this way, you will always be working your way towards the higher planes of spiritual consciousness. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Be faithful to the ideal that you can only now see vaguely. Francesca Arundel was a small soldier in the work of the Mahatmas. We can all become Francescas Arundel or Franciscus Arundel, because it doesn't need to be a woman. Yes, we must take the diamond pen and write in the white pages of our lives a significant one, because there is this saying, I don't hear what you say because your acts cry. So empty words are not so useful. Let's do a little bit, but let's do it well. The bit we can to find unity in this fractured world and help to build a better world for all of us. Thank you very much.
Wonderful talk, Isis. Synthesizing all of the truths in the Mahatma Letters. Beautiful. The way you brought it out so clearly, sometimes the Mahatma Letters can be a bit difficult to navigate, but you did it in a really skillful way. A really nice pilot for us. I had a question. So at one point it says, he says something about directing your will to the right direction.
Yes.
What do you think was meant by that?
Yes. Well, as far as I can understand, as Ravi was saying, we can direct our will to our Kamamanas, or we can direct our will to Buddhimanas, right? So we can become stronger personalities and and more mean and more dangerous and so on. And we are developing our will, but in the wrong direction. So it's a question of changing our mentality, not only changing the mentality of our time, but changing our mentality, see what things that create only unhappiness for everyone, including for all of us, and put our will in direction to our Buddha nature. That's how I understand it.
You mentioned that one of the important aspects is self-knowledge.
Yes.
Did the instructions offer any practices towards this self-knowledge or training, or from your own experience?
Yes. Well, As far as I understand, the books give only guidelines. They don't give the recipe of the cake completely, because we'll make our cake our way, you know. But the guidelines are there, and the difficulty you have is not the difficulty I have, and it's not the difficulty he has. So each one has to take this guideline and work out his or her own personality, her own being, no? So, of course, there are trainings, but I take as suggestions. Suggestions that should not be followed literally, but take the general idea and apply into your own life. That's more or less how I take it. Of course, study, meditation, and service are the main guidelines, right? With study, you broaden your understanding. With meditation, you synchronize your higher energies. But if you do that without service, you will be concentrated only in yourself. So service is important to know that you are not the only one that matters in the whole universe. So in this broad sense, Clara Cott has a book called Meditation, Its Practice and Results. Oh, it's a book that I have to remake it, because I read so many times that it fell apart. She has a lot of suggestions on how to deal with your mind and your emotions at the same time. The meditation that HPB gives of developing qualities of space, imagined space. So there are suggestions, but not all suggestions fit for everyone. So you must have a look and see what it applies to you. Something I always say about meditation is like riding a bicycle. You have to get your own equilibrium, and no amount of instructions is enough to tell you how to ride a bicycle. You have to get your way of doing. So that's why I think there are suggestions. They are very good suggestions. We are very happy that there are suggestions, but the complete recipe of the cake, no.
I struggled with one of the statements that you had up there where you said, if you can convey to them only the relative truth, not the absolute, you have done them a great service. And that spoke to me from the perspective that from your heritage and your background, you've seen a lot of people come up with relative truths. Example, Marxism, and how that's affected people as a good service. Your comments?
Saying briefly, I think we have to be careful to not make of theosophy another dogma. More or less like that. We have to see that only guidelines are given, and these guidelines are very valuable, but you must feel with your own intuition, as the Mahatma say. HPB repeats that quite often, and yes, this relative, how can I say? I wouldn't say relative truth, because it's not truth, but anyway, there is dogmatism in every sphere of life, and we have to avoid that. Trying to see that these are not words that are written in the books. These are life ideas. Take into your life and try to see what you get with it. And the main thing is an incentive for us to transform ourselves, to get a better life for ourselves and for the society around us. And just dogmas don't transform anyone. You just repeat dogmas and they don't transform you.
You referenced service, and we all know we live in a very fractured world right now. I'm not trying to get political, but I'd like some suggestions what we as Theosophists can do practical service-wise to help provide, to be unity, to unite some of the divisive situations that we may face.
Yes, yes. Well, that is, well, some people are doing meditation to world peace. My father always tells us a story that, well, being his daughter, I heard many times, that when the war, the Second World War finished, he was, I think, 11 years old, and they pray every night for world peace. And he said, oh, when the war ended, I felt that I participated, I was responsible for the war to end. So somehow we can, well, I'm just telling you an anecdote of my father, but anyway, we can put these ideas, and somehow demolish superstitions, political superstitions. There is a man, an American, called Geoffrey Sachs. Oh, he's so good. He's almost a theosophist, And yes, and he is promoting world peace, promoting the end of misery, the nations together. So we should applaud more this Geoffrey Sachs of life that are promoting political ideas that will lead the world to more peace. But we are against the flow. That's don't expect that you will not have resistance. There is resistance everywhere, but well, another example that my father always repeats, he talks about his grandfather was fighting for end of slavery in Brazil, and he was, well, he died before the end of slavery. But it was these people that fight for the end of slavery that create the critical mass that made possible for slavery to be abolished. And one thing that he repeats quite often, he says, oh, if you say today, oh, let's take someone a slave at home to do some washing and so on, that is ridiculous. But that was the mentality of our world not so long ago. So we will be adding ideas until there is a critical mass where humanity as a whole will not accept anymore such things. And the ones that violate, they are, well, somehow minority, and it's important to work of the mentality of our time. That's my take on this.
We were just talking about that resistance. And in the earlier letter, when the Mahatmas were talking about building this temple, and that they are only willing to accept willing victims, yes, that we are putting ourselves out there, and that there will be this inevitable shadow or this inevitable resistance.
Yes.
Could you speak a little bit to the aspect of, that resistance also serves a purpose for us to teach us something? Could you speak a little of that?
Oh, yes, like gym, right? Make us stronger, make our muscles. If we don't have resistance, one thing that I like to say, you take a decision. Oh, I'm going to do that. And life puts a question mark. Are you? Then several obstacles come to see if it's true what you said to yourself or if it's not. So when you really go and do, that's strong, because you have faced this resistance. So in society, there is a lot of resistance, but in the personal level also. Uh, it's like starting a diet on Monday, you know, because you always postpone because, well, it's so difficult.
In the Theosophical writings, there is a lot of emphasis on ideas and the mind, and not so much on the power of love. I get that, at the time, probably this was the need. The major need was to talk in these terms for the people that these teachings were presented to. Could you speak a little bit about the power, in the same way, power of ideas, the power that love has? Because sometimes ideas can be confrontational, but love has a power that can transform from another place, I think.
Well, perfect. Yes, I think in terms of idea, the mentality of our time is very important. As I was giving the example of slavery, 200 years ago, to have a slave to clean your house was just normal, common. And today is not accepted anymore because the mentality of our time has not accepted this idea. So in social terms, I think what we do in changing, or at least putting one letter of the alphabet of truth available is very important. But you were right. Love is Buddhi. Love is when you just open the window of your heart and it flows, you know. So love extinguish all the obstacles. Love is well, as Ravi was saying, Sat Chit Ananda. So it is the being, a consciousness, and love, happiness. All this is the flow of the spiritual energy in us. And the spiritual energy, let's say, satisfies. Ideas, well, we change ideas, but this Buddha nature satisfies, and love can break barriers that no idea cannot. But in terms of society in general, I remember a very good person, a teacher of a school that my boy was studying, say, "Oh, you have to be good because you have only one life." Okay, that was her paradigm, you see? And that's maybe not enough for you to really strive to be good, for you to really, because there is only one life. You may, if you do some wrongdoings, you may escape from the police and nothing happens, you know? So it's a short paradigm that don't, well, don't incentive you to go forward in your efforts that may last for several lives. So I think on the social level, what we do with ideas is very important. But on the personal level, it is Buddha nature. It is meditation that allows you to flow in a different way. And no idea will give you this satisfaction. That's my understanding.
One point I wanted to comment on was that, I think Kim's question, what can we do in our daily life? And that one letter from Jinarajadasa kind of says it all. In that, to let's see if I can remember this correctly, to um, fill your day with noble deeds,
Oh, that's
time well spent.
yeah, that's
And
the Francesca Rondeo.
exactly. And so because it's open for us to interpret that, so how would we, today, tomorrow, and the next day, according to our own personality, interpret those words?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, that's what I implied when I say we have to find unity. We cannot give what we don't have. So there is a work in ourselves of harmonizing our being, let's say it like that, somehow elevating our energies, in order to be able to do this thing, to live noble days and so on. Otherwise, you are stuck with your anger, you are stuck with your jealousy, you are stuck with your disturbing emotions, like the Dalai Lama says, and you are disturbed. Then how can you add peace to the world if you are disturbed yourself? And so, and it's no easy task. You will not get rid of all of them like just doing that. It's a process of harmonizing oneself. The Mahatma Gandhi has one expression that I think it's perfect. You have to be the change that you want to see in the world, and so concentrating in your own being and make yourself a healthy human being is a great part of this work of transforming the world and living a noble life. Study, meditation, and service, well, they are the triplet. And when they talk about putting teaching the world a single letter of the alphabet of truth, I think it is very much as karma, evolution, reincarnation. Yeah, because if you know that everything you do will come back to you, well, why will I hurt someone if it will be I will be hurt afterwards? Why should I? This evolution, karma, and reincarnation, they are pillars of a moral behavior, uh, of how to and how to live in a way to not damage others and to be benefit for others, a way of getting better and better life for all, So, so for us, this is more obvious. We are already used to these ideas, right? But for the world in general, this is not so obvious. And I think we must think in terms. I can tell you stories. Well, some stories are like significant for me. In Brazil, we have a television canal that we show our Theosophical talks. Okay, Theosophical talk, you go, and this goes to TV and people watch. Many times in the streets, people come and say, "You are helping me to lead my life." What did I do? I prepared my talk and gave my talk at the Theosophical Society, and it was shown, you see? So these theosophical values are very needed for society in general. And I can see this, especially because of now it was somehow unique of Brazil, the experience of TV in a strong manner as it is there. But now with YouTube, any section of the TS can do this. And you are spreading these ideas, and you don't know where they will get. I have one talk of Comte of Saint-Germain that I did in the Theosophical Society 4 years ago. It has 110,000 visualizations. Where did I get? I have no idea, but we are putting these ideas out there, and people are listening. The ones that want, they have channels to get, and that's how we are somehow helping to improve the mentality of our time.